Good morning. This is Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with your conservation report. And this morning I'd like to talk about a subject called 4R nutrient stewardship, which is related to crop production. And the 4R philosophy is an innovative and science-based approach that offers enhanced environmental protection, increased production, increased farmer profitability, and improved sustainability. The concept is to use the right fertilizer source at the right rate, at the right time, with the right placement. And properly manage fertilizers support cropping systems that provide economic, social, and environmental benefits. On the other hand, poorly managed nutrient applications can decrease profitability and increase nutrient losses, potentially degrading water and air. And that's kind of where our office comes in to help farmers in that respect. The 4R nutrient stewardship requires the implementation of best management practices, or what we call BMPs, that optimize the efficiency of fertilizer use. The goal of the fertilizer BMPs is to match the nutrient supply with the crop requirements and to minimize nutrient losses from fields. Other agronomic and conservation practices, practice requirements such as no-till farming and the use of cover crops play a valuable role in supporting the 4R nutrient stewardship. As a result, fertilizer BMPs are most effective when applied with other agronomic and conservation practices. Selection of nitrogen best management practices in Minnesota are based on what region of the state you live in, and for Stearns County, we're in the region for the coarse textured soils. However, we know that every farm in the county doesn't have coarse textured soils, so when heavy till soils exist on a farm, we would use the West Central or the South Central BMPs. Today I'd like to focus on the right nitrogen rate best management practice, because I've been running a lot of the assessments with the water quality certification program where farmers tend to be over-applying nitrogen to their corn crops. So the nitrogen guidelines for corn production in Minnesota have changed since basically 2006, and yield goal is no longer the major consideration when we pick that nitrogen rate. The old standard was to multiply yield goal times 1.25 and then subtract any credits such as the amount of nitrogen from a manure application. Instead, the current guidelines are based on, number one, the productivity of the soil, and number two, the ratio of the cost of a pound of nitrogen divided by the value of a bushel of corn. And finally, third, the producer's attitude toward risk. These guidelines are the end product of a lot of trials that the University of Minnesota has conducted throughout the state. So the current nitrogen price to crop value is about 0.1, which would put the nitrogen guideline for corn following soybeans at about 90 to 125 pounds of nitrogen per acre. And then if manure is used as a primary nitrogen source, or depending on the level of risk you're willing to take, you could consider a rate between 100 and 140 pounds of N per acre in that corn following soybeans. Or for corn following corn, the max rate should be in the range of 130 to 180 pounds of nitrogen per acre. Manure and alfalfa legume credits should be subtracted off of that top rate. Split applications are always a good idea too, to improve the nitrogen use efficiency, which reduces the potential of nitrogen leaching losses to either the groundwater or to tile lines. So as farmers wrap up their 2016 cropping plans with their crop advisor, I would really encourage you to review this 4 R's and see if you're on target for your rate and make sure you're taking credit for things like manure and previous legumes. Because if we expect to reduce the risk of nitrates getting into the groundwater or surface water, we need more adoption of best management practices, and the 4 R's of nutrient stewardship are really an excellent way to review your management. To wrap up this morning, I'd like to mention again that Sauk River Watershed District has a new hay buffer program where they will pay farmers $150 an acre for 10 years to seed down 50-foot buffers along perennial or intermittent streams or public or in private ditches. And a bonus is that you can still harvest hay on those buffers twice a year. If you want more information about this hay buffer program or any other conservation issue, you can call our office at 320-251-7800, extension 3. And finally, from all the staff here at the Soil and Water Conservation Office, I'd like to wish all the Chasm listeners a happy Easter. And again, this has been Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District, and thanks for listening.